I'm going from one Daniel to another. Daniel McAdams. Daniel McAdams, he is executive director of the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity. Daniel, my man, how you doing this morning? You doing okay?
Good morning, Jamal. How are you?
I am doing good. Better that you're joining me. I saw on Twitter that you posted, you responded to, I believe it was something that Emmanuel Macron said. Emmanuel Macron has met Trump. He and Keir Starmer is effectively trying to influence Trump to go a different tact on the issue of Ukraine. That doesn't seem to be the case, considering what took place in the United Nations yesterday, where the U.S. refused to go along with Europe on this idea of an unprovoked war of aggression. In fact, the U.S. is standing closer to Russia in regards to what they want to come out with their own communique. Macron insisted that it was Russia that broke peace terms. And if I'm not mistaken, you pointed out, well, that's not true. This is speech that these were giving Macron standing there with Trump. I want to get your take on this. This is yesterday, I believe.
And especially when you disagree. I stopped my discussion with President Putin after Bucha and the war crimes because I considered that we had nothing to get from him in the time. Now this is a chance. There is a big change because there is a new U.S. administration. So this is a new context. So there is good reason for President Trump to re-engage with President Putin. But my experience is the following, and I shared it with President Trump and the team. In 2014, our predecessors negotiated peace with President Putin. But because of the lack of guarantees, and especially security guarantees, President Putin violated this peace. And I had several discussions, especially beginning of 2022, several times, 7 hours with President Putin, 15 days before the launching of the attack.
Is this true? Is this true? Like, that's an astonishing thing for Macron to stand there and say. Give me your take on this.
He's an absolute liar. He came with the pack of lies. It's absolutely untrue. First of all, Bucha was not a massacre at all. That was completely fake. It was just debunked a few months ago. If anyone's been paying attention, maybe his intel people are sleeping, or maybe he doesn't want to know the truth. But that was an absolutely staged massacre. The people were already dead when they were placed in the streets. I don't want to go into detail, but it's been thoroughly debunked, not by the Russians, by the way. So that's bogus. 2014, he was negotiating peace. No, he was putting in. He was involved. He was participating in the regime change, overthrowing an elected government, and the whole idea of the Minsk agreements being violated by Trump is absolutely untrue. And we know that because Angela Merkel herself told Zeit that that was a way for them to bide their time while they were rearming Ukraine. She literally admitted it. And Macron's predecessor, Hollande, was participating with Merkel in this charade of Minsk. And if they think that Russia didn't know what they were doing, well, they were wrong. And that's why Putin took every opportunity after that, up until the very end of 22, saying, listen, guys, I'm serious about this. I'm not joking. I'm serious. I'm not joking. And they all said he's bluffing. Well, he didn't bluff. So Macron is an absolute liar. And hopefully there's someone in Trump's circles who knows the truth about this stuff. It's not that hard to find.
Well, it doesn't seem that Trump is paying all that much attention to him, considering the UN vote yesterday. And you're right. Macron is lying through his teeth. As you pointed out, Angela Merkel and Hollande both came out and stated openly that they lied, which again is astonishing on its face, that you would have these kind of international meetings, international agreements, treaties even. And Germany, France, all of these countries effectively blew all of these things off leading up into the conflict. Give me your take on Trump in all of this. I've been shocked at the speed at which U.S. foreign policy has fundamentally changed. He seems to be legitimate in trying to get some kind of deal. What is your take on Trump and all of this that has been taking place in regards to U.S. geopolitical policy and the speed at which it has fundamentally changed now that Trump is in office?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, we have to play pop psychologist with Trump because I hate doing it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Why not? It's early in the morning. I think he sees in Putin someone like himself, a doer rather than a talker. I mean, the Europeans have been talking for 3 years about Ukraine without doing a thing except writing checks to Zelensky's bank account. And Trump himself has said it. You guys had 3 years to sit down, and you didn't. And I think Trump emphasizes action and doing things. I think that's his nature, that's his background. And I think he sees in Putin someone who does things on a similar level. I mean, how many times have the Europeans been saying, we're going to send troops in, we're going to send troops in? Oh, no, we're not. No, we're not. It's been at least 10 times Macron has been the chief instigator of this. So blah, blah, blah. And I just don't think Trump respects people like that. So, but at the same time, the people around him, I believe, are in the blah, blah, blah category. You know, they're going over, they are telling the Germans what great allies they are and the French what great allies they are, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe they just have to do that to keep the pot from boiling over. Who knows? But, you know, Trump, one day to the next, you never know what he's going to do. But I think
Yeah.
he's on the right track when it comes to this. Let's get this thing over with, and let's stop dilly-dallying around because people are dying. It's a pretty good sentiment.
Have you been shocked at the way liberals? I remember you and I had a conversation once, and you pointed out that there used to be a contingent on the left that you could talk to, deal with these kind of geopolitical issues involving peace and negotiations, and that somewhere along the way that evaporated. Have you been shocked at the way liberals have looked at this and thought to have effectively taken a position that Trump is the devil, and that even if the devil is ending a war where all of these people are being massacred, that he is somehow wrong in ending that war? I have been shocked at liberals' take on this. I mean, liberals are supposed to be the people who are fundamentally anti-war, at the very least, don't believe in these wars. And yeah, I know FDR, I know LBJ, Vietnam, World War II, all that stuff. Meaning, it's their moniker. It's the way they talk about it. Reality is a bit different. I have been shocked, though, at the veracity that they have fundamentally accepted a position that if Donald Trump is trying to end the war, then by definition, it is somehow wrong that he is ending this war. And so we must somehow support this war in continuance, despite the fact that they lost the war. Like, I've been shocked that liberals have taken this tact. What is your take on this? Why do you think that they've taken this tact? I guess there's that, and maybe I'm answering my own question with the Trump thing. But it is disheartening to see it. Give me your take on this.
Yeah, well, Trump is the devil and Musk is his right-hand man, the father and sons of darkness. The problem with America is that Americans are so focused on politics that they can't see policy. And the same thing that's true with the liberals is true with Conservatism Inc., right? America first. Well, with a couple of exceptions, by the way.
Yeah.
It's all blah blah blah. I mean, it's all sloganeering. It's all bumper sticker. So you have it on both sides. You have people like us who pay attention to the policies. Do I think Trump is a second coming of Jesus Christ? No, I don't. I think he's a deeply flawed person. If he gets a couple things right, hey, that's great. If Elon Musk can find $4 trillion, for example, and I don't want to get into economic policy, but if he can find $4 trillion that's been stolen or misplaced or fraudulently moved from Social Security from the people who deserve it, I'm not going to say what an evil guy is cutting people's money. I would say that's great because that means there's more money for people who actually deserve it. But because they hate him and he's a figure of hate, they're gonna ignore the things that he does that may actually help working people in the long run. So I just don't get it. I don't worship any politician at all ever, and I wish more Americans were like that.
Yeah, I saw Ron Paul, I think it was the other day. And look, he has been one of those people that have had a value set and that has functioned from a value set. And the value set has typically been, why are we having these wars? Why are we spending this money on these wars? And so if a president comes in and that president is like, hey, as deeply flawed as I am, I at the very least get this right, support him on it. I guess that's the way I look at it. Like I didn't vote for Trump. I feel like John Wayne, where John Wayne pointed out for John F. Kennedy, I didn't vote for him. He's my president. I hope he does well. I found myself there. I've just been shocked that liberals have taken this disposition almost as a tenet of religious faith. I watched Bernie Sanders give this frothing at the mouth war speech that because Donald Trump is somehow ending the war, that ending the war is somehow wrong. This just seems outrageous to me. And I want to get your take on something else. I spent, I think, the first 30 minutes putting a knife in Brian Stelter. I put a knife in Brian Stelter because Brian Stelter said this. And I don't think he gets how grotesque this is. And yet he says it openly without any pushback.
Explicitly, it's pretty obvious what's happening. Some of this, I fear, is about illiteracy on the part of the voters, not knowing, for example, about the spending that's going to Ukraine that's actually funding American technology, right? Funding American manufacturing plants. And by the time you do learn those facts, it's too late.
But I do think, look, not
explicitly, it's pretty obvious what's happening.
Now, to be clear, he is talking about people being slaughtered. And he is being very cavalier about people being, hey, we're getting the money back. So what's the issue? We're getting the money back. It's going into our weapons manufacturers. Our military arms are being paid handsomely with all of the money that we're dumping into Ukraine. And voters are illiterate to this information. And if they were literate to it, if they knew that the billions of dollars, the hundreds of billions that we're spending is coming back into our own weapons manufacturers, then they'd be okay with all of these people being killed and slaughtered to the hundreds of thousands. He's out of his mind.
I don't know about you, Jamal, but it's not coming back to me. Right?
It's not coming back to me either.
It's coming back to those big mansions in McLean. It's coming back to CNN, through its partnership. The crazy thing, one of the crazy things, he's advocating fascism. Fascism is the partnership between the private sector and the state. That is literally, yes, by definition, what he's saying. Hey, this is great. We've got fascism. The state is the leading edge, and the so-called private sector are in bed together for the good of all. But guess what? It's not for the good of all. It's not for the good of Ukrainians. It's not for the good of us. All we get is the tab, right? All we get is inflation. Yep. Sick. Yeah. He's a sick dude, man. He's sick.
We're spending money to weapons manufacturers. We are not getting anything out of it. Stelter, and even beyond that point, like the people who are dying doesn't seem to matter to Stelter. And I've heard this argument made before by U.S. Congress members where they have effectively said, look, the money is coming back to us. What's your issue? And it's like, okay, but 100,000 people, hundreds of thousands of people are being killed in a losing war that we have fundamentally lost. And I don't know, there's something fundamentally grotesque about that argument to me, that the hundreds of thousands of people being killed don't matter. That what matters is that the money is coming back into our own coffers in regards to our weapons manufacturers. And if that is somehow a positive thing in all of this, it's just utterly bizarre to me. From your take, where do you think this is going? Do you think the orthodoxy of the U.S. has been changed by Trump?
Yeah, but see, one of the reasons why I try to hold my tongue too, not that I'm influential, but why I would recommend people hold their tongue in a way, is that I think Trump is also fighting within his own people and within the Republican Party, a long held concept that, we have to continue to increase funding of the military. I mean, he came out, maybe he's saying BS. I don't care. He came out and said it. We should cut our military spending by 50%.
50%. Yeah.
I mean, I could not believe that. I mean, even the President Bernie Sanders wouldn't have said that when he actually was Bernie Sanders before the body snatchers came for him. I mean, that is incredible. And so maybe he didn't mean. I don't care. Once it's out there, then we can move with it. And the sad part is, you're right. I think more and more people on the right are starting to see it from a more populist way, which is that, hey, this isn't helping me. The spending isn't helping me. I'm paying $10 for a dozen eggs. Something is wrong here. If only there were more action on the progressive side, getting together and getting rid of these stupid labels and the bumper sticker mentality and saying, this is not benefiting America. It's benefiting a very narrow layer of the elite at the expense of, as you very well pointed out, hundreds of thousands overseas. We've been there. We've done that. Iraq, Libya. We keep killing hundreds of thousands of people. Go back to Vietnam and 1 million, 2 million Vietnamese. And so people starting to realize this and it's starting to wake up a little bit. We have to encourage it, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. Daniel McAdams, man, thank you for this. I really do appreciate it. I always enjoy these conversations. Daniel McAdams, Executive Director of the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity. You can learn more about Daniel's work at Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity by going to ronpaulinstitute.org. Daniel, my man, you have a fantastic day. Thank you for this.
Thanks, Jamal. Take care.
You have a good one. Be safe. All right. We have come to the end of the road. Yeah, we've come to the end. Ukraine never existed on an independent state since 1991. That is by Justice Bill Brett. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Back at you, Bill Brett. Patrick Show. That is, I love that name. There is a workers' strike back conference. Shama Shawat. I love her. I am, I love that woman. She's awesome. And let's go to the chat. Here's the Sir Bike Salat. More of that opening music, please. I don't control that opening music, Sir Bike Salat. Thank you for joining me, though. That is controlled by StreamYard. Thank you for the work that you do. I think this is called Excalibur. Thank you. Back at you. You support this content. You pay for this content. These shows get demonetized anytime you mention Gaza or the West Bank. They kill the money on the show. Look, guys, I want to thank all of you. We have come to the end. I want to say like, share. I want to say subscribe. I want to say like, share, subscribe. You can support this content through PayPal, Patreon, Super Chats, memberships, all of those things. But even liking the video is doing something for the content. And I appreciate you for doing so. You all have a fantastic evening. Jamal Thomas Morning Show, episode 101. Signing off.